Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where today's most exciting solopreneurs share their startup stories. They also deliver tangible strategies that they would implement personally if starting their business over today. Each episode is a startup masterclass. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and my special guest today is Kiana Danial. Kiana, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
I have followed you a lot on social media, and of all places on Fox Business News, you seem to be on there more than the hosts are. So I think just recently they have really wanted to kind of tap into your expertise.
Yeah, it's been a blessing. I mean, so here's the thing. I actively try to not to listen to the news because it goes against my strategy. And I try to manage my emotions by cutting out the news and the noise. And then I get called on to go and create and add on to the noise. And I'm like, great, now I have to read about the news. And it actually messes up my strategy. So it's great to be on, but at the same time, there are two sides to it, definitely.
Well, I know that, every guest that we have on, we ask them to do kind of a short bio to get us rolling, but your bio is so incredibly diverse that, we could take the entire show. You just walk through your time in the 3 or 4 different countries that you've lived in. And I mean, that Japan experience especially it just blows my mind that what you did as a young lady, but this is your time. Please share whatever bio background you want to share.
Yeah, let's not do the long version because that will be very, very boring. I'm not going to bore your audience to death. But yeah, so I'm originally from Iran, Persian Jewish, went to Japan on my own to study electrical engineering out of all things. And then I hated it, but I studied it for 6 years regardless, just to, because you're like, oh my God, I started it, I have to finish it. And then you're like, oh my God, I got a degree, I have to work in it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I hate it. So I decided not to do that. And I got introduced to investing, actually trading at the time, 2008 market crash. I was super interested in it and accidentally made some money. And I was like, I got to dive deeper into this, and decided to come to New York, start working on Wall Street, got fired, went back in, blew up my account, started trading. And then I finally found my way, value growth investing. And now my mission is to help now that I'm a mom, my mission has become to help other moms, but it's basically, anyone who's interested in investing and in finance to do it the right way and cut down on all the trial and error that I did that took me a while to really find the right path, especially with all the noise and social media and everybody saying like the hype on FOMO is real. So my goal is to be the anti FOMO, the anti-hype, and helping people to really create sound investment strategies for their family and for their children so they can take control of their financial future.
My degree at university was in economics. So, I love the whole theory behind money. And I know that there are so many strategies out there and whether it's a day trader, whether it's somebody, how do you invest to maximize return on a very short-term basis. I like the way that you've kind of looked at this. You have this, it seems to be a very balanced view of short versus long. How do you kind of ignore, and you mentioned the word just a second ago, how do you ignore the noise, as you're investing? So how did you kind of arrive at your own system? And was it trial and error? Did you kind of take bits and pieces from, the gurus out there and just kind of put together your own system? I'm just curious how you birthed that system, the Invest Diva system.
Yeah, absolutely. So it took me a decade to put it together and a lot of education. I did study for the Certified Financial Planning degree, and I studied for a Certified Financial Advisor and CMT, Chartered Market Technician. And then because my first job was as a Forex broker, I was very close to the trading community. And obviously I started day trading, and obviously that blew out my account. But I was also putting myself out there and kind of creating videos on social media very early on to share my journey with others. And one of the biggest change makers in my strategy was somebody that I actually interviewed on my show yesterday, Guy Spire. And he saw one of my videos on LinkedIn. Is like, Kiana, you're doing it all wrong. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Who are you even? Turns out he's had lunch with Warren Buffett and he taught me about value investing. He just sent me his book. That's basically what he did. And, but that like literally 2 words that, hey, stop trading and start investing changed my whole system. And even though after that, I got into riskier assets like cryptocurrency or anything else, I still hold on to value investing values, regardless of the asset that I invest in. And that is how every time I kind of get emotional about my investments, I go back to what has been proven to be the method, to be the most stress-free method of investing. Because I mean, it's just, even if you make a ton of money day trading, to me, it's not worth the stress. It's just not. So
and I love I was looking at a video earlier that I think you had done maybe for Facebook, and you kind of did a screenshot of one of your charts. And I thought either she's designing the space shuttle or she's got, it was like, all these trend lines going in different directions. And here's the inflection point we're looking for. And here I'm like, so we're not talking about just, like dollar cost averaging or, how do you kind of double down if it goes to a certain level? I mean, it is a very complex system you designed.
Right. So that is a different piece. So I've mixed it up for sure, because I started out with day trading and technical analysis was a big piece of it. And then, so it also comes down to Japan. So that thing that you saw on my chart that looks like literally like noodles are walking on my chart that nobody can make sense of it. Like, what is that? So that is a Japanese indicator. And I was lucky to learn about it on one of my trips back to Japan. When I started working on Wall Street, I got a freelancing job as a consultant for a high frequency trading company who was trying to expand in Japan. So we ended up traveling back to Japan business class. Awesome. And we would go to these Japanese finance corporations. And I was like the Japanese, translator / business, whatever it was. And at one of the parties, like corporate after parties, I was talking to one of the Japanese people, asking them about their strategy and how they keep up with New York, because they are, ahead, and time difference and all these things. And he said they use this indicator called Ichimoku, which basically is an average, it's a moving average, but it's 5 moving averages. And the combination, once you get used to it, gives you a better understanding of the market sentiment. And they use it for more higher frequency, shorter term trading. But I realized that it actually works even for long-term value investors. So I took that and I brought it, I kind of compiled it into my value investing method. So I don't do dollar cost averaging. That is like the most relaxed version. I do it a little bit, like I'm kind of in between. So if there is a bubble, Ichimoku, the Japanese indicator, shows me, and I know that I have to wait, then I use, technical analysis to see where the key psychological levels are that the market could drop to. And then instead of just being stuck to my screen all day, I set buy limit orders at those levels. And then I just let it be. Then I go about my day. Then the buy limit orders go through or not go through. Then I come back like every week or every month, check it and adjust it a little bit. So it's relaxed, but it's not too relaxed. Like I don't just let it be for 25 years.
Right.
But
not completely hands off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you first started and you were talking, you were trying to figure out how, your personal investment strategy, were you doing this as a means to an end, or was it the end in itself? I mean, did you set out to, I am just trying to figure out how to invest my own money so I can make a good return and provide for the family, or at least, contribute to the family, that type of thing? Or did you do this with the idea that I'm setting something up to be able to teach others how to do this as well?
That's a great question. So what happened is that a bunch of things happened. First of all, when I first got interested in the financial industry and in investing to begin with, I was scared of actually diving into it because I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not trained. I don't even know what a market recession means.
Says the only female in her class in Japan.
I
learning Japanese on TV.
So yeah, I had a TV show. So that's how it actually got started. So I was on a TV show in Japan as well. And they were talking about recession. I'm like, what's a recession? Like, I didn't know the word for it in Japanese. I didn't know the word for it in English. I just didn't know what a recession is. And I started learning about it. And one of my friends helped me short the dollar yen pair, and I made $10,000. I doubled my money within a month, 2008. And I'm like, this is cool. But I knew I got lucky. I was smart enough to know that I got lucky with making that money. But the power of investing was kind of becoming shown to me. And I'm like, okay, I was hearing that, the governments are printing money, and that means inflation is going to go higher. Your money in the bank is going to get devalued. So I was learning all these things. I'm like, okay, so I got to invest, but I don't want to do it on my own because I don't know how to do it. So I gave my money to a money manager, and that money manager locked my money up. And they kept, like, the kind of agreement that we had with them was that I had to keep giving them money for like a year or two, and like otherwise whatever. And I was like, okay, so I kept giving them money, and I was looking at my account that I'm like, they're not really doing much with it. And then that is when I decided I'm going to go to Wall Street and learn about it. And then I got fired from my job on Wall Street, and then I needed money. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get the money from the money manager to pay rent. And the money manager says, oh yeah, you can, but you have to pay 75% penalty because you told us, this is going to be a 25-year thing. I'm like, what? So you're not doing anything with my money, and it's locked up, and I can't pay rent. So that like infuriated me. And so I was desperate to learn about it. And of course, at the same time, so your question was it to, to make money? Yes. But also I also had this, like, when you get fired. So a lot of things, when you hit rock bottom, you hit rock bottom. I got fired. My boyfriend broke up with me. Like, I couldn't get my money out. Like, everything was going wrong. And I'm the type of person that I'm like, okay, so I have to turn this around somehow. And I said, I'm going to share my journey so maybe other people are feeling the same way. So I started at the same time. I started my education journey at the same time. And I was teaching about the things that I had learned at the time, which was because I worked at a Forex broker, I was teaching about Forex, which is when Guys Fire saw me on LinkedIn. So they both happened at the same time.
Right.
And I had all these ups and downs. I blew out my money. I started reporting on the New York Stock Exchange, learned more things, became a consultant, went back to Japan. And the pieces just came together year after year after year until I had it all together. And I was like, okay, this is it. So it happened at the same time, ironically.
But that was, I mean, you were, at that time though, you were putting together a system for yourself, correct?
Yes, I wasn't aware I'm putting together a system. I just wanted to make money to pay rent. So right. I was listening to everybody and anybody. I didn't know any better. So, and I knew that I didn't have the money to invest in myself at the beginning to like go and learn about it. So it was like, I'm going to work for free. So I interned for free at Wall Street, other Wall Street corporations I just like literally was begging people to teach me things, and some people did. And when I was reporting at New York Stock Exchange, it was again a freelancing job. I was listening to everybody that people were saying, and then even though I was listening to what everybody was saying, I lost a bunch of money because they were managing like $1 million account, and I was managing $500, and it just didn't add up. So blew up the account. So it was definitely a trial and error path on my end. And I'm hoping that I can help people kind of skip through, kind of fast forward through all the trial and error, because it's tempting.
Yep.
It's tempting.
So was there an inflection point where you went from, okay, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing videos on LinkedIn, I'm doing videos on Facebook, just kind of helping people walk through the journey, to saying, wait a minute, this is actually a business. I mean, there are people that are asking me to teach them how to do this now. I have kind of a double monetization strategy. I have the investment side of things, but I also have the, just the fact it's a fee-based or it's a course-based, revenue stream that you're saying this is more than just a personal system I've got here.
Yes. So that is interesting that happened. I always knew that I kind of want to monetize my education. I always wanted to write a book. So the first thing that I did was I wrote a book. I'm like, I'm an author. So it was a dream come true. It wasn't about the money, it was about becoming an author. So my motivation at the beginning with sharing my journey wasn't the money, was just becoming an author and sharing and becoming a figure there. I did not think about the money at all. So the moment that I started thinking about the money was, so I went to the UK. I was invited to speak at the University of Westminster, talk about my Ichimoku system, because now I'm an author, right? And the person who had invited me to go there and talk to their crowd was Rob Booker. And he told me, I was telling him, yeah, I'm like building a website and it's like super hard. I have to hire people. I don't want to do it. And he told me about ClickFunnels. And ClickFunnels is a software developed by Russell Brunson, who's an entrepreneurship guru.
Yep.
So I was like, oh my God, ClickFunnels sounds amazing. Instead of a website, I can just do it. Awesome. So I got into ClickFunnels. And of course, Russell Brunson targets me and was like, hey, come learn about entrepreneurship. I'm like, oh, okay, what's that? Oh, okay, what's that? And 2016 is when I went down the rabbit hole of becoming an entrepreneur. And yeah, it's been a heck of a run. It's been very prosperous and for good reason, because Russell Brunson is all about entrepreneurship, but is also about, sharing your advice and getting paid for it.
Yep.
That's all what he does. And it was great. Oh, people are going to actually pay me for my advice. Yes. Awesome. So, and they're going to actually listen better. Oh my gosh. So turns out people who pay more attention. And if you really want to make a movement, you got to charge them. And I'm like, what? This goes completely against everything that I believe. So, and it's been true. We have now over 2,000 people, paid students in our community. And they're like, Kiana, thank you for charging us. I'm like, okay, why are you so cheap? Like people are literally like, is this legit? Your course is too cheap. I'm like, really, $1,000 is so cheap? Okay, we're going to make it $2,000. So that has been it's been interesting to see the business side of things for sure.
But are there multiple levels in the group that you have in the Invest Diva community?
Absolutely. So of course, the first level is now my books and the free training that I put out. So I'm a big believer of still putting out as much value as I can out there.
You certainly do that.
On TikTok and on YouTube and on Facebook, I try to give my best out up front. And if people are interested in learning more and working with me, then we have the Power Course and we have the monthly, now I have coaches from the people who came to my course and learned it. Now they're good enough to be able to coach other people. So we have coaches on a monthly basis who they go live and talk about the investment strategy and how to apply my system to our students, investment strategies. And then now we have a very brand new tier, which is funny that you asked, where we call the accelerators. It's $1 million accelerator where I actually teach my full wealth system, because the story of my life has been investing in myself, then kind of making a little bit of money and then going and investing it in the markets, and then investing more in myself, learning about entrepreneurship, making more money, and again, invest and then make the money work for me. So I call it my Zen wealth system or Zen wealth. I don't know. We have to come up with a name of it, but it's Zen wealth. It's called Zen because it's not like super hyperactive. It's just like invest in myself, increase my income, and make my money work for me on the side. So I teach that in this accelerator program, how to make more money by turning your passion into a business. Because now I feel like, because I've done it, I've made like $1 million, over $1 million in my business. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can teach you how to become an entrepreneur. So we're doing that. And then we take that and create investment strategies so that they have the whole system going on for creating wealth.
So you've got, I mean, it's almost like a two-pronged strategy because you're probably still investing personally, and then you're also teaching people how to do it for themselves. Which do you prefer?
Oh, I only want people to do it on their own.
No,
That is
I'm
my
sorry.
goal.
Like, do you prefer working with, it's not a trap question. I mean, some people just love investing so much that that's like the highest calling in their life. They love the markets, they love the movement, they love the process, the strategy, the systems versus, but yet, yes, I want to give back to the community. I want to feed into that. Or others are like, man, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning is just working with the students on this side of things. And I the investing's okay. It's great returns because I have a good system now, but I really love the community side of things. So which side do you think is the driver right now?
So that's an interesting question because I used to love the markets ups and downs, but I've come to realize that loving the markets is only going to make me lose my money. So I actively try not to look at the markets, but I also have a passion for getting people understanding how to invest on their own so that they don't go to money managers or don't leave all their money in the bank or don't leave all their money in the 401k that they have to pay all the penalty if they, for God forbid, if they need it. Because like they can actually outperform these money managers.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love teaching. I actually do enjoy teaching a lot. I'm just a coach at heart. That's why I loved writing books. That's why I loved even being on TV, because being on TV is coaching, is chatting with people. So it came out kind of, I feel like everything came together to bring all of my passions in one place. And I know that I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was working at a corporations. They wouldn't allow me to bring all of my passions in one place. And I feel like it's a gift. I'm very blessed and humbled to be able to really incorporate all of my passions in one place. And I know a lot of people are multi-passionate. And that's where we're like, literally yesterday we were talking about with our accelerators, and they were like, okay, I like Taekwondo, but I also I'm an optometrist and I also like investing. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, this is what you do. Don't put all your passion, don't put your passion in investing. The investing side should be the boring side. And then put your passion in a business where you bring along others like yourself along with your journey. So I feel like really entrepreneurship is a gift. And I've tried very hard to, as I said, every emotion that I have, I don't put it in the investing side because that will become disastrous. I focus it on the business side. And that has helped a lot with truly creating wealth, because the investing side actually needs to be boring. And I learned that the hard way. So, and as much, it kind of hurts sometimes. I'm like, okay, I teach about investing, but I'm not that actively investing. Like, you get the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But then I remember, okay, that's the name of the game. Like, you shouldn't be actively investing because that is what the brokers want you to do, because that is how they get paid.
Right.
They get paid by the activity. So it's definitely weird, but
yeah, I mean, I think I could have answered that question for you, because I mean, just watching, TikTok videos and Facebook, and I mean, it's amazing how frequently you are online with these little, I mean, half the time you're holding your child and half the time you're like, the little catchy little, here's the 5 steps that I want to talk to you about in this, minute and a half video or whatever. But you can just tell that it's just something that you enjoy doing. I mean, it really does. I mean, it gives you energy instead of draining it from you, and that's a passion. That's the way you're wired. That's the way you're built. And that's just how it is expressing itself, into bettering someone else. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you do give so much value outside of the courses. I mean, it's, people can learn a lot just watching you.
No, absolutely. So the funny thing is, people in my course ask me, okay, where do you learn about, like, where did Kiana talk about, let's say, I don't know, the rule of 72? And I'm like, yep, there's always a TikTok. So I post a TikTok in our course. I'm like, just watch my TikToks. I'm like, I have everything on TikTok.
And it's great music too. So
yeah.
Right. It's never boring for sure. That's right. Just we have a little music background. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But so what is it what's the next step? What's the next, what's the 3.0 version of Invest Diva?
So right now, believe it or not, I never thought this will happen, but we're now expanding our team. And I was for the longest time a solopreneur. I was the customer support and the tech support and everything support. And now we have a team of 10 people.
Wow.
I have a COO and I have an executive assistant and we have support team and we have coaches. All of them are from our own community, which is just super amazing. Like
Homegrown.
our students. Yeah. They were like, absolutely. They were passionate about the mission and they wanted to add on to it. And it's just super amazing. And we have people, even the people who are working for me are from different countries, and it's just been super amazing. So definitely last year, 2020 has been really crazy good. So I know we were just quarantining at home and I was just, that's when I started doing TikToks and everything just blew up thanks to the quarantine, I guess. So there's always a good and the bad.
Speaking of quarantine, I mean, how did COVID affect like your plans for 2020 as you were kind of growing your business?
Interestingly enough, I think because a lot of people were so the market crash happened and people were quarantining, they were depressed, and I was depressed at the beginning, and I went on TikTok and everybody was on TikTok, and we kind of created a community over there. Many entrepreneurs also say the same thing, that the quarantine actually was really good for bringing the communities together. And a successful business is always about the community. And that's really what happened during the quarantine. And actually, one of the best things that happened was that I was finally able to get the mom's attention. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
I feel like before 2020, no matter what I did, I always wanted to serve women. But because it's such a male-dominated field, I always got men. Like 96% of my students were guys, or my book readers, or anyone, my following. And the quarantine changed things around, because I feel like a lot of moms now who are working maybe or lost their job. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but they kind of saw the importance of being financially literate. And my story suddenly started speaking to them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So now it's amazing the number of women who are interested in investing. They're rocking it and are just like managing their husbands and boyfriends and like portfolios. It's just, things change. 2020, literally this male dominated field turned around. And I couldn't be happier to see this.
Got more divas than divos.
Yes. And it's amazing. Like we had to literally have a term divo because like we didn't have any divas. And now we have a lot more divas than divos. And divos are calling themselves divas, which is, I'm like, yeah, girl power. Awesome. The men in our community are amazing. But yeah, it's interesting to see that something that is perceived to be a bad thing can actually sometimes be a good thing for you, because now you're prepared, because crashes happen all the time. You never know what's life is going to throw at you. And that's my whole thing. Like I started out during the 2008 crash, and now we have this crash, and we're probably going to have crashes again in the future. So the best thing you can do is to get prepared. So.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you two questions as we're kind of wrapping up today. Number one is you always hear so much about blockchain, about kind of the cryptocurrency. And I'm looking at your book, Cryptocurrency Investing, that's sitting right behind you. Insert shameless plug here. But what do you think? I mean, it's difficult to say, yeah, this is what Bitcoin's going to do, or this is what Ethereum's going to do, or this is what Litecoin's going to do, or whatever. So, but from a long-term strategy, what do you see in the e-currency space?
So the reason I'm interested in cryptocurrency is personal. and I'm particularly interested in Bitcoin. And I was very skeptical. I actually learned about Bitcoin in 2011. One of the people who I was like working on Wall Street was like, go buy Bitcoin. I was like, no, of course not. Like 2016, a lot of things happened to me, but one of them was a company in the UK, again, asked me to do research and analysis on cryptocurrency for them and kind of report on it as a video freelancing job. And I was like, sure. And I started learning about it. And what caught my eyes was that Bitcoin is decentralized. What that means is that it is not owned by a centralized entity. That is what blockchain is.
Right.
And at the beginning, I didn't understand it, but then, so personal story. I'm from Iran. My dad was previously a successful engineer before the Iranian Revolution, had a very, successful career, a lot of money. And then the revolution happened. The government took over his bank accounts and froze all his assets, everything that they could see. Learning about Bitcoin, I realized if Bitcoin existed at the time, the government would not, and if he had his assets in Bitcoin, the government would not have been able to freeze it because they wouldn't have access to it. It's like in a wallet that you keep in a safe place. And that was powerful to me. And that's why I got into actually learning more about Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin. I actually invested in Bitcoin for my dad and myself. And but don't take it from me. Read my book. No, seriously, because any asset, if you want to invest it, there is opportunity in any asset. Like, don't invest in an asset because Elon Musk told you to, or I told you. You really got to understand what you're investing in. And Bitcoin, I had to understand because I was reporting on it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it sounds like the future. Go read about it, use your judgment. Maybe you come to the conclusion that this is not the future. And you know what? Either way, you're going to be fine. There are so many assets at your fingertips. Just look at your, credit card. What are you investing? What are you buying the most? Where are you shopping the most? And that will give you an answer of what is going to be a valuable asset for your portfolio. So I don't want to and I know you wanted me to tell you what blockchain is. It's a decentralized internet 2.0 kind of as a ledger, but just Bitcoin, I know it's hyped up and it's amazing, but please read about it before you invest in it.
I mean, the most interesting thing to me about Bitcoin is just its limited. I mean, it has a limit of how much there is. So, I mean, it never will have more. And, so I could see, just these tremendous fluctuations of value and stuff. But yeah, it's very interesting to me as well. But I want to certainly put the link to your book in the show notes because I think that will be helpful. But as we wrap up today, is there anything that we haven't touched on? You've just kind of walked us through this tremendous story, and I really appreciate, once again, you taking the time to do that. But is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you think would be of value to our listeners as we wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. So because the majority of this podcast we talked about investing, I really want to encourage your listeners, if they are already investing, to really understand why they're investing, understanding their why. Is it income? Is it capital gains? Is it just because they feel like they're missing out? Is it to create generational wealth? And to be honest with you, if it's just income, you probably want to avoid investing because then it will become emotional. I would recommend that if you're looking for a quick buck, there is a lot of money to be made online. So definitely look into that. But there is nothing better you can do for yourself and for your children and for their children to come, to put the money that you make into work for you to create generational wealth. That is the definition of generational wealth. People who win the lottery, they lose it within a year. And 76, that's a crazy percentage of people who lose all of their lottery money within a year because they don't put it into work, because they are not financially literate. So financial literacy shouldn't be because you want to make an income. It should be because you want to preserve and pass along the generations and for your retirement. So go get financial literate before you start investing.
And a great place to start would be Invest Diva, which is her community that's online. And Kiana, thank you so much for just taking the time to chat with us today in your busy schedule. And I mean, I know this isn't the Fox News studio, but we have listeners that care about things just like the Fox listeners do. And I just really appreciate you just taking the time and just really helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Kiana, have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Another episode in the books. We hope you heard some great takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and YouTube. As always, thanks for listening to Rising Tide.